what's up everyone? I'm Anthony, and here we're going to be talking about some spooky stuff. And here it is. We're finally talking about The Exorcist Believer. When his daughter Angela and her friend Katherine show signs of demonic possession, it unleashes a chain of events that forces single father Victor to confront evil. Terrified and desperate, he seeks out Chris MacNeil, the only person alive who has witnessed anything like this before. So Exorcist Believer was directed by David Gordon Green, who has brought us the well-received Halloween trilogy. And we like that, don't we? And I know when this movie was announced, there was a lot of controversy going into it already because of director David Gordon Green attachment to this film, because the Halloween franchise in a whole, you know, that last one that we got wasn't so well received by the fans, at least, and overall audience. I think it was kind of mixed to okay. Personally, I like the first film in the Halloween trilogy that we got. The second film was terrible, and I didn't even watch the third film, so I can't even give my review on that one. But if you look at critics, look at people that I trust and follow online, it wasn't so good. But we can't talk about The Exorcist Believer without talking about the original, the one that started it all, the 1970s The Exorcist. Now this movie has a whole bunch of history behind it. I mean, you know, it's really well received for that time. At that time, people were waiting in line for 4 hours in some places just to watch this movie. And then you have the tragedies that happen on and off set with all the deaths between the cast members and the crewmates. It's really interesting and intriguing and sad with this movie. It's definitely one of those movies that will be talked about for all time in the movie sphere. And with the original being held at such a high standard, I feel like a lot of people are going to compare, either rightfully or not rightfully, that film to this one. And I think it's a little bit unfair, even though the film kind of does it to itself in certain points of bringing back original cast members and doing a little bit of the same plot points. But I think this film is trying to do what the Scream franchise and others before it is doing and has done in the past, which is doing the requel. You know, we're gonna do something of rehashing the original, but also putting a little bit of a new spin to it. And I think this movie does that. Does the movie do it well? That's the big question, and we're going to talk about it. So the first thing that I want to get off my chest and just, you know, give some props to is Leslie Odom Jr., his character, Victor. You know, we're gonna get some slow claps for him because he is the star in this movie. The first half of the film, or I'll say the first hour of the film, heavily focuses on him and his daughter Angela in the film, and, you know, a couple other side characters, but mainly him and his daughter and just their past and the tragedy that they've gone through, and him in particular. And going into this film, I was wondering why this movie was called The Exorcist Believer, but when you're following Victor and Angela's story, you can kind of see that this is a story of Victor trying to find out if he is going to be a believer or not. And not necessarily a believer in demons and, you know, the occult and all that stuff, but necessarily, is he going to believe in himself? Is he going to believe in the path that he has chosen for not only himself, but for his daughter as well? And I think that first hour of the film is really powerful and it's really well done. And I was watching, I was like, dang, this is going to be a really, really good movie. And I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but it changes. It changes in the second half. And with this being a Blumhouse produced movie, you know, the production, the acting, everything is elevated, and I really liked the way that this movie looked. It looks very nice. And I will say this movie is an Exorcist film, so you know that they have to give their all with the exorcism scene. And I personally, even though there's a couple people online that thought that the exorcism scene was probably the weakest part, or, you know, very lackluster, I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it was because I went to Halloween Horror Nights at Hollywood this year and I went to the Exorcist Believer maze. I don't know if that increased my hype level for the movie, or, you know, leveled my expectations or something. I don't know, but that maze was probably like top 3 scariest mazes of that night when I went. And when I watched this one and they showed certain images that I saw in the house, I was like, okay, getting flashbacks. But even with my enjoyment and my love for the first hour of this film, like I said, I think it's top tier. If the movie continued to be like that throughout the entire film, I think this would probably be my favorite horror film of the year. But The second half starts, and I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. But they introduced the OG character of Ellen Bernstein's character, Chris. And it's nothing against her. She did great in the film. I thought she was amazing. But I don't know what happened to the editor. I don't know if, like, you know, Blumhouse or Universal came in and they were like, you know what? You're already an hour in this film. You know, the budget's going up pretty high. We want you to hurry up. Just hurry up and get to the Exorcist scene because, you know, we don't want this to go over 2 hours. And that's what the second half of this movie felt like. It felt really rushed. The pacing in the beginning of the film was really well done. I know some were saying that it was slow, and then I kind of had to question, have you watched the first Exorcist? Because to me, that one was a little bit more painfully slow than this one. I think the pacing in this one was well done, and in the first film, it's okay, you know. I still like that film a lot. My cat decided to join me, and I don't know if you guys heard any of the screams in the background, but it's this guy, Tangerine, and my shirt is going to be covered in cat hair throughout the rest of this video, so if you see that, it's this guy's fault. And it's really unfortunate that the movie went in that direction because, like I said, the beginning of the film is really great in my opinion, and then it just gets jumbled and it starts turning into like just a throwaway exorcism film, and characters that we built so much in the beginning and we laid foundations and we kind of know how they're gonna act, they start doing and saying things that just is a total 180 from their character, and it just came off as silly and goofy when some of the stuff that they're saying and doing. And that's where I kind of get where people are coming from with their scores for the film, because it does such a 180, a quick turn of what they're doing in the film, that it just kind of makes you roll your eyes a little bit. But like I said, for me personally, I could a little bit see past that because the first half was so good, and it is cheesy and it is very jarring and disappointing with that second half of how they're doing with the pacing and everything and how things are coming together. But I think if you look past that, if you can, there is stuff there that is really good and really intriguing. I mean, for me, the exorcism, the scene with that is really, really cool. Like I said, I don't know if I'm jaded by Horror Nights, but I liked it a lot. Now, this film is going to be a trilogy. They announced it as a start of a new trilogy for the Exorcism series, and this one is The Believer, and the next film has already been titled and is called The Exorcist Disbeliever. Yeah, if you thought the first title was weird, the second one is even weirder. And you could be asking yourself, like, why or how are they going to be making another sequel to this Exorcism film? If you thought that this sequel requel kind of thing was already kind of like mystifying and you're wondering how they even did this, how they're gonna do another one, at least 2 more movies. And if you pay attention, if you do watch this film, if you pay attention towards the end of the film where the exorcism is happening, there's something that happens there that I think could indicate where the series can go from here. And if they are going that route, and I believe that they are, just because, again, I'm going to bring Horror Nights here. I'm just plugging Halloween Horror Nights, Universal Studios Hollywood. Go check it out. But if you've gone to that maze, there's a little bit of spoilers in there, and they can kind of tell you, if you look really, if you're not too busy screaming like I was, but if you can see certain things in that house and in the end of the film, where it's leading to a possibility of where they're going to go. At least I think, guys. Not confirmed, this is just speculation for me. But if they do go that route, I think this series is going to take a very interesting turn. I wonder how it's going to turn out. But the most important thing that I want to know, guys, is what did you think of The Exorcist Believer? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you gonna go see it now, or you're not gonna go see it? You're just like, I'm just gonna wait till VOD or Redbox to get it for $1.99. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you were a fan of The Exorcist Believer, I think I got a couple of movies for you guys to check out if you are a fan of the exorcism horror genre like I am. I know a lot of people don't really like that genre because it's like really repetitive and overplayed, and as a person that likes that genre a lot, I mean, I can't disagree with you, but that's one of the things I like the most about it. But my first recommendation of a film that you should check out if you like Exorcist Believer is the Conjuring films. Now, those two films to me are like top tier horror in my opinion. It kind of started a whole different franchise itself. It's spewing out a whole bunch of stuff like Annabelle, Nun, all that random stuff. But the first two Conjuring films are the best like exorcism movies in my opinion, and they have just like great characters, great jump scares, great storytelling. I just love it. I think I'm gonna go watch Conjuring 2 right after this video. And a recent exorcism film that didn't get a lot of praise from critics, but the audience really loves it, and I love it too. It's called The Pope's Exorcism. Now, this one might be a little bit more your wheelhouse if you're a fan of this Exorcist Believer, where the Exorcist Believer has a little bit more cheesiness to it, and Pope's Exorcist has a lot of cheese to it, a lot of ham. You have Russell Crowe being this kind of like zero nonsense, I don't give a fuck kind of priest doing an exorcism, and he's like hilarious in the film. And it might not be for everybody because it's a little bit on the silly side, but I really like it. And if you like The Exorcist Believer, maybe you want to check it out. But that's it, guys. This is my review for The Exorcist Believer. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for your support throughout this time. I'm really excited for where we're going to go next. But you know what to do, guys. Keep watching movies.